Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Mandalorian, the podcast. As always, I'm Cory with Perfectly Honest Podcasts, and I have with me today Matty B.
Yo.
How's it going?
I'm super fucking excited about this.
We have been waiting for a while to do this. We didn't want to do it too soon. We didn't want to get you guys too amped up, but just to let you know, about a month and a half away. No, not even a month and a half. What am I saying? Literally
Weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
We are going to have Mandalorian and we're going to have Disney Plus. So I'm pretty fucking excited. I don't know about you. I know you are. I don't know about you guys, but we're fucking excited. The only reason I haven't pre-ordered yet is because I'm waiting for the Hulu package to be included with it. That is ad-free and I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well.
But you bet your bottom dollar I'll be there.
I'll purchase it when I purchase it.
Right.
Which will be before it's released.
We might get logins and share it because let's be honest, we're all poor. But we do love Mandalorian and we do love Star Wars, and that's why we're both here. Now, Matt is a little bit on the fringe, aka this is all he does. Live and breathe.
I'm on the outer
rim. Yeah, right. He is a Mandalorian himself. You know, me, I grew up with Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I'm not that crazy into it as far as like the extended novel universe. That's kind of a good thing because they kind of decided that wasn't canon anyways. But
yeah, they can pound sand on that one.
Yeah, there's a little bit of mixed feelings about that. But yeah, for right now, you know, definitely Matt is going to be our product expert as far as The Mandalorian. But I'm here for kind of like the every person perspective and someone who's definitely dived a little bit into the Star Wars universe and has some questions and going to reel Matt and make sure that we're not going too crazy. But for this one, we kind of just want to talk about what is kind of the universe that we're getting started into. What are we expecting from the series? And what are we looking forward to? So Matt, let's just start for people that have absolutely no fucking idea what we're talking about.
I feel like we're going back to Star Wars. The show
back to Star Wars.
I do. I feel like we're going.
Basics.
I feel like we're going back to the roots, like the things that I grew up with.
Well, so we had a conversation a little earlier. So we also do a couple other podcasts, and Matt has been so gracious to actually grace us with his presence and be on those other podcasts as well. So check those out. Link in the description. But we were talking a little earlier, and you know the creative people behind this. Go ahead and tell me what you were telling me in the kitchen. But basically, this is going to be kind of interesting because we have some of the creative forces that were behind Iron Man and a couple other things.
Yeah, you got Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, I think is how you say his name.
Filoni.
Yeah. And I think both of them are in their own right very respectable.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Jon Favreau, obviously, you know, Iron Man, and chef, and then he's got that new show on Netflix, Chef Show, which is like a just really candid look at him and his personality and stuff. But just what he did, like launching the MCU, I just think speaks very highly of his just presence in the industry.
Well, and that's what I think naturally, I mean, someone who maybe isn't even so much into Iron Man and appreciating all of that, but I think anyone can really appreciate, like exactly what you said, launch the Marvel Universe. And do you think that's what Disney's kind of grabbing at here? Is this something where, you know, Disney kind of inherited the Star Wars franchise and it was in this kind of very unique time, and you know, some of us
I'm not
love
sure
them.
Inherited is the right word. That was a very
Purchased
expensive.
it with a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It was kind of in this in-between phase where it was like, okay, we have these old Star Wars movies which fans love and we almost don't want to touch them. We had the new Star Wars, you know, episode 1, 2, and 3, which George Lucas kind of pissed on a little bit, depending on who you talk to. And then now we have this new era with these new Star Wars films with The Force Awakens and everything. And
there's
overall
really
consensus,
mixed,
very mixed, exactly like you're saying. You know, I think it's a lot like Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3. If you were a very young kid when they came out, I think a lot of those people actually kind of have fond memories of it.
Well, I mean, I still have fun. I mean, I remember seeing Phantom Menace in theaters.
You can see it is what it is, you know, but you also had a lot of those films to kind of have a backbone of like, okay, this is different. It's definitely a different vein. And I think that's what these new movies are. But like you said, I think this is a chance for us to go back to have this TV series and to have a lot, the thing with movies too is, right, you got one chance to make it or break it, and you can't really pivot from that, right? And I mean, yeah, you'll have spin-offs, but it's billions of dollars almost, it seems like sometimes, like it's just unfathomable. And now TV shows are definitely getting like this, and this has an extreme budget. So
Yeah.
it's not going to it's not going to be chintzy or anything like that. But like there's a little bit more fine-tuning involved, and I think this is going to really set up Disney Plus to have a lot of shows in the future that can have this extended amazing universe that is Star Wars. There's a lot of source material. There's a lot of things that aren't canon, but like fans love
Well, they're
them.
picking and choosing from it, which
Exactly.
I think is great. But back to the producers. Like I really like Jon Favreau, obviously, with what he did. But when I found out that Dave was involved, I think the Star Wars fans are really happy with him just because of how faithful to the original content that he's been. He gets it. He very, very much gets Star Wars. He gets Star Wars the way the fans get Star Wars, and he's been very faithful with it. Not the Attack of the Clones,
Clone Wars.
the Clone Wars series, Rebels. He's written a bunch of that stuff and he just has his finger on the pulse. So the fact that he's involved speaks very highly to what we're going to get out of it. But on top of that, when I say that it's going back to the roots, it's going back to like, you watch the trailer and, I mean, and a lot of people have already talked about it, but it really does feel like you're getting back to like a spaghetti Western, and
kind of the nitty gritty Star Wars, not so much a child Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting coming from this Clone Wars Rebels universe, which is definitely in that vein of it's a cartoon. It was definitely marketed towards kids. But
thematically they keep it real in those.
Definitely. Like it definitely is more mature than a lot of other of the similar vein. But this is my question to you. Do you think that so episode 1, 2, and 3 was basically George Lucas kind of has said at this point, hey, it was to grab in a new audience because it had been such a amount of time that really, what we needed to do to bring up this franchise was to get all these kids involved and do that. I think these new, like The Force Awakens and these films are kind of doing that again, kind of a little bit delayed, but this is kind of giving everyone else what they want.
Yeah. I mean, Rogue One, a lot of the older fans, I think, really appreciated Rogue One just because of, I just feel like it struck the chord that we remembered. And I think that's what we're going to get. And, they're channeling a lot of like the older, like, Akira Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
Which if you go back and you look at like, Star Wars: A New Hope, episode 4, and you kind of watch like that movie, and then you watch Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa. There's undeniable similarities between the two of them, and Kurosawa was influenced by Western movies, and in fact, I think even the lead role, Pedro Pascal, even says that he's like channeling Clint Eastwood, in the role. So I am so beyond excited. Like,
yeah, definitely. When we have a really good cast too, I think that's something that like from the get-go, when this was first being sprinkled in, we were like, what is this Disney Plus? Like, what's it going to be? Then we found out there was going to be some of the original series. Then we found out there was a Star Wars. We found out this cast, and like it's just amazing.
It's their flagship now. It's their. Yeah. It is almost what is selling the subscription at this point. Like you've got a lot of Marvel stuff that's coming out too. In fact, I think there's even another Star Wars series, a Kenobi series that they're talking about doing, or that I've heard rumors of.
I'm not surprised. Like I think, people are going to crave more.
Yeah.
There's no way they're not. And I don't know if we know at this point how many episodes exactly, but I can guarantee you it's going to be enough to whet our beaks, and we're going to say, take my goddamn money.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's another thing for a streaming platform that is really interesting is, traditional media, this is packaged in with, like your Discovery, whatever is usually what Disney is, but like this is a separate streaming service. And this is what I think Netflix and Hulu, and when these all diversify, they're really, Disney's going to be taking all their stuff onto Disney Plus. Hulu is also kind of going with that. At what point is it like, hey, we have to have a lot of original content? And, Netflix has had its jump start on there. And, they are a little bit more indie and there's not a lot of, name brand franchises on there, but they have the head start. And so it's like, at least with Netflix, really you can go on and you can find a lot of original series that they've had for years going on now.
If I was a gambling man, I'd be putting money on Netflix in November. I'd be buying
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're gonna dip.
Oh yeah, totally.
They're already dipping.
My point is though, after this initial series, what are they going to have to entice people to continue paying that membership? They have to have more content.
Oh, with Disney?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff is
there's so much.
There's so much, but I think for a lot of people, you look at it's like people with families, no brainer, right? But people that don't have kids, I think it's a little bit more of a proposition that they have to say, "Hey, here you go." And Star Wars is a blank check, like just take my money,
I'm biased. I can't accurately answer that question because
yeah.
I like the MCU, I like Star Wars, and I mean they're pulling all their properties off of Netflix, everything apparently.
Oh yeah,
and then they're even bringing out like old animated movies that they've had in the Disney Vault that they're
Forever.
not.
There's some weird shit on there. I think middle of last week they just announced like everything that's going on there. It was kind of a weird flex because there's a lot, but there's some really bad stuff on there too. There's some stuff I remember from watching Disney Channel when I was growing up, and I was like, "This is bad then." Well, now it does not live up to the test of time, but
there's definitely some weirdness.
Definitely a lot,
but it is what it is.
For sure.
And for $6.99, I'm not gonna complain too much.
Complain that much?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, man. Bundle it with Hulu. I already pay for it. It's like no brainer for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get too distracted with this, because obviously we got a little time before this comes out, we might have another little bit of an extended talk
before. A fangasm.
But I want to make sure that we're including people that might not be completely caught up. I think everybody knows, like, a Mandalorian. Okay, they think of Boba Fett typically, right?
Mm-hmm. But probably, well, maybe not, because
maybe not anymore. But let's just go into.
I don't think they ever like explicitly in the OG movies. I don't think they ever talked about it.
I just feel like that's what people think of when they think of it, if they don't know Star Wars really that well. But I mean, if you watch Clone Wars, if you've watched a couple other things, if you've read the novels, like, can you just go into like what is a Mandalorian, like what is their culture, and what are we expecting to see from this titled show?
Well, it's kind of like a weird two-pronged thing because you got the OG expanded universe stories, and then you have the new canon. That really most of it comes from the series that Dave Filoni's. I swear to God, if I'm mispronouncing his name, I'm gonna be upset with myself. That he was involved in the Clone Wars animated and Rebels.
Yeah,
where they kind of flesh out the new canon story of the Mandalorian, but there's a planet, Mandalore. They were a warrior race at some point, well renowned, deadly, and they their planet got messed up. Their society got kind of jacked up. And
do we know why it was messed up?
Well, there was wars. And
just a bunch of wars.
At some point in the past, they fought a war against the Jedi.
Remind me if I'm wrong, because I have watched all of Clone Wars. I have not watched any of Rebels, but I want to say that they're almost set up a little bit like a republic back in Rome or Greece. Like everyone was kind of expected to have military training, but it wasn't like they would do that for a little while, and then they were expected kind of to take office and stuff, and they were.
Well, I mean, like I said, it kind of depends because you've got these two different conflicting things. But, me growing up reading the books and stuff, like Mandalore and the Mandalorians, they a lot of times they were depicted as like farmers almost. Like
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would go home and they would settle, and all of a sudden, if conflict arose, you know, you open up the little cellar door and there's this 500-year-old suit of armor that's been
Yeah.
handed down, and you know, you know, you're a badass, but you're growing potatoes.
Yeah, totally.
Until you're called to duty or whatever. So I really liked that. I really liked that you know, peaceful warrior kind of thing. Plus their armor's just
Cool as fuck.
badass. Yeah. And then, you know, the fact that they were called on to kind of like lead the charge against like friggin' Jedi, man. Like they're obviously, they know their shit.
Yeah.
You know? They're not to be messed with. But in the new canon, as far as I'm aware, like that came back to bite them, and they weren't eradicated, but they were definitely weakened greatly.
Yeah.
So they kind of morphed into this bounty hunter, mercenary kind of culture.
Do what they had to raise some money.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the animated series, and honestly, I haven't even watched all of it, and frustratingly, because I remember it used to, I have to pay like $1.99 per episode to get it off of iTunes or whatever, and that was like the only place that I could find it.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but also I had no idea about finding anything else like that back then. And it just wasn't, I mean, I still bought like a bunch of the freaking episodes.
Yeah.
But I like couldn't always justify it because it's like 20 minutes for like $2, and it exactly. Totally. It's like I need to fix, but so there's some stuff that I recall watching, but you know, there's some other stuff that I feel like I missed. And it's funny that Jon Favreau, coming back to him, he voiced one of the Mandalorian characters in the Clone Wars series. Pre-Vizsla, I'm not sure if that's the right name for him, but he's a guy that like tries to take over as Mandalore.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have the planet Mandalore, and then the people that live there are Mandalorians, but then you have the leader, and the leader is Mandalore.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly a little bit confused about everything because, you know, you watch the Clone Wars movies.
Yeah.
Or not the Clone Attack of the Clones? Yeah.
Yes.
Episode 2.
Yes.
And you have Jango Fett, who I was under the impression he was Mandalore at one point, but then I just like read something the other day that said that he wasn't even Mandalorian, he just had the armor.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, so then that means by extension that Boba Fett isn't Mandalorian, which whatever, fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's convoluted.
Totally. And that's what I think we're really looking forward. Like, that's the one thing that I think is such an awesome place for Disney to play around with in this is like, you know, Mandalorian. We all like know this from different parts. If it's, you know, just from, you know, Boba Fett, that kind of stuff. If it's from the Clone Wars, but there's still a lot that's like, well, let's play around with that.
It's not concrete right now.
It's not concrete, and there's a lot for them to do to make it canon that I think we can really be impressed with, and really will open up the door for a lot of stuff, maybe even here to come, you know?
Yeah.
It's a really cool sandbox to play in, so I'm really excited by it.
I'm super stoked about the cast. I'm stoked about the setting. The trailer, like, it definitely looks like they're dumping a ton of money into it,
which is what needs to happen. But I think that's what Disney, I think, is learning, and which is why I'm really thankful for this, is like, you can't just dump a ton of money at something and not actually have like the passion behind it and like what the fans want, you know? Like, you can't do just complete fan service, because like, obviously, like, you have to open up new markets, there's new demographics you need to get involved. Like, I think that's a lot of the concern with like the new movies is, you know, China's opening up a huge market in Asia. And so like a lot of this new introduction of characters and stuff was like to kind of feed that, but it kind of felt a little weird.
Well, the thing about the new movies that I think frustrates me, and I'm speaking for myself. If other people agree with me or not, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I got frustrated, and this is part of the reason why I'm so excited about Mandalorian, and why I'm saying it's like going back to my childhood, is because I feel like the new movies kind of, to a certain extent, were like they were almost erasing or like overwriting, rewriting the original trilogy.
Yeah.
For this new audience, and I mean, it's like, it's weirdly, it's like you can actually like look at a breakdown of the movies, and it's like, oh, that's A New Hope. Oh wait, that one's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
The one that just came out. Not the the one that most recently came out.
Yeah.
You've got an ice planet, rebel base.
Yep, totally.
There's like this smooth talking guy on a gambling planet that betrays the characters. It's it's a weird like 1-to-1 ratio for the scripts.
It's a reimagining, but it's in like a different vein.
Yeah.
But I think so. This is the thing, though, is I can't help but kind of feel like Disney did this thing where they're like, "Hey, Star Wars, cool. Like we have all of this, we got a lot of money. Like let's throw them together and make a story, just like they would like with a Lilo and Stitch or like a fucking Frozen or whatever. They're like, we're good. We're good at making stories. We can do that. Like whatever." But what they forgot is like, hey, like there's a lot of people that really passionately love this universe and this story, and they grew up and they were playing fucking pretend with fucking all the action figures and the guns and the collectibles and the Legos and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go back to that of like, oh hey, these are people that are really fucking passionate about this. It's a story that needs to be told. It's not someone reimagining something because it's its whole new thing, but it's really steeped in that like, dogma of Star Wars. But at the same time, we got a lot of fucking money on this.
This is the Star Wars for all the kids that sat on their bed and tried to close their door with their mind.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Well, I mean, like all you would have to tell me, honestly, like given and not to like, S the D of John and Dave, but right. But if you told me a year ago, no, actually not a year ago, if you told me in May of 2019 that they were doing a TV series and it was going to be the Double D's, I would have been like, fuck you. Like I'm still a little bit butthurt.
Yeah.
About season 8, but
oh yeah.
And they are doing the new trilogy for Star Wars. So
we'll see where that goes.
But and it's like a choice between John and Dave or the Double D's. It's like, John and Dave, for sure. Because I just feel like they have the fucking finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
They really, beyond. And if anybody wants to see like a little bit of like, kind of like prequel to the John and Dave love fest that's happening, there's that show on Netflix, Chef Show. That's Jon Favreau. And there's an episode where they go to Skywalker Ranch and they're making food, and
it's everything that's on Skywalker Ranch, right?
Yeah, it's like they're doing all like, I don't know what that's called. It's not organic. I mean,
like farm to table or whatever.
Something like that.
Kind of like that. I don't know.
They walk out into the back and pick all the vegetables and kill some chickens and shit. That's off screen. Yeah. With lightsabers. And they invite Dave in, and it's just like the conversation that's happening, the riffing between John and Dave. It's just like, that there's some like good communication there, and you can tell how much both of them really enjoy the universe.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like you and me sitting here talking about it. Like they're fucking excited. They're like little kids talking about it, and that's why I'm just so happy that they're involved.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's in really good hands.
They actually care about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be pissed off if it doesn't work out. And instead of being like, yeah, that didn't work and it was kind of crappy and there was some budgetary things, they're like legitimately going to be upset about it.
Yeah, like they're just. I mean, I think Dave's probably. I would almost suspect that he's like used to it at this point, but I mean, I think to some extent both of them are like little kids that are just like so happy that they get to play with these toys.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we've kind of S'd some D's, to quote a phrase. What are some things that you're worried you're going to be disappointed in?
I mean, I'm worried that I'm going to be let down.
Yeah.
Like I'm really trying to go in with low expectations.
Put it this way: what is something that would happen that you could see happening that will make you go, maybe they can save it here a little bit further, but this is a turnoff.
Politicizing. I get really frustrated if you try to like. I mean, social commentary has its place.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Watchmen.
Yeah.
That's a perfect venue for that kind of thing. And Star Wars always has had a social commentary. Growing up, the Empire was xenophobic. Like the Empire was anti-alien, and it was very kind of like structured, homogenous kind of thing, where the rebellion was much more inclusive. Yeah. And that in and of itself is a social commentary, and that's the kind of thing that's fine because that is Star Wars.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes I feel like just some cheap, you watch it like 15 years later and it's like doesn't really make sense in the same universe.
Yeah.
So I'll be let down if they take the easy route in that regard. I feel like you should tell a story. Ultimately, that's what I want. I want a story. I want a well-written story.
Mm-hmm.
I want something that impacts me emotionally. I want to feel for the characters. I want to understand the characters. And I want to walk away from it. I mean, I'd love to walk away from it fulfilled,
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that would let me down would be if it ends up feeling like a cash grab. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel like it's been taken care of.
Yeah. Totally.
And I feel like they've already done that in recent years with the new movies. Not the new trilogy necessarily. Like a new trilogy kind of like rubs me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts about it that I love. There's just like certain scenes in those movies that are just fucking awesome. Like Force Awakens when Kylo like stops the laser bolt midair. That was sick. Like there's some things that they did really well visually.
Yeah.
Amazing. But I didn't feel the same like emotional impact.
Yeah.
But then they made Rogue One. And Rogue One was like, yo, like this is Star Wars. Like you're speaking my language. Like this is some there's a level of darkness to it. There's a level of like self-sacrifice.
See, I think that's for me, like, the story, right? Mandalorians, bounty hunters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want to have some PG bullshit,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want
the
it to be
trailer
like,
shows some guy getting cut in half.
Yeah.
You know?
And it better be all like that.
Keep it
because
up.
that's what I want, like, and that's the thing I think that, as Disney acquires all these properties, and this has become a conversation with Deadpool, right? Because they acquired Deadpool's rights. and they're gonna let it stay rated R. Like there needs to be a little bit of grace where it's like, you know what, Disney, you're a billion-dollar conglomerate. You need to have a little bit of diversification. Not everything is going to be for kids.
Well, yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, think about it. Like Star Wars was always originally for kids. You know, it was designed as a kids movie.
Yeah.
Um,
But it was also entertaining for adults to come, and that's why.
well, it was, but not. But let's think about this as far as like a financial thing too.
Yeah.
Kids
To
aren't
sell
spending
toys.
money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like parents are spending money.
Yeah.
Yes, let's have the thing. Let's have Star Wars for kids too. Okay, like so that you
Totally.
got the,
There's
you got the
room
shows.
for all of it.
Exactly. But like, what about the kids that grew up? You know, like I have close friends. I have parents of close friends that, 10 years older than I am, that still absolutely love Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
what about them?
Oh, yeah.
And I guess to a certain extent, that's my hope, is that they're targeting an older demographic for this specific show.
Yeah, I think that is always, like the classic nerd like decision, right? Is like, are you a Star Wars or a Star Trek, right? And I think
you can be both.
totally, and I think I am a little bit, right? But like that's kind of the thing that's always been separated Star Wars and Star Trek to me, is like Star Trek, every episode has a morality to it, right? And like a futurism like choice of like, hey, think about this, and it's commentary on today, right? Star Wars usually didn't have that. There was like a little bit of, an ethical dilemma, but like sprinkled in there. And most of it is just like really fun. Star Trek, though, always had a little bit of cheese to it,
Well, I think
Star Wars, really, I think everyone at the end of the day is like, yeah, I'd be a fucking bounty hunter, right?
Well, I mean, if you have taste.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think the difference between the two is, well, I think if you're accurately defining both of them, one is fantasy and one is science. Like one's science fantasy, one's science fiction.
Yeah.
I think that for people that are more intellectually minded, Star Trek is probably what they're going to lean towards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if people are more spiritually minded, Star Wars is probably going to be what they lean towards, just because the overarching themes of them are different in that regard. Like, not to get on a complete side tangent, but Star Trek's very logical.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to this planet, but don't interfere. Like, let things go like the Prime Directive and all that stuff. And Star Wars is like,
fuck that.
Star Wars is like, well, there's good and evil,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be the champion of good or whatever.
Embrace the evil.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a whole. I mean, like that's literally like that's a whole nother psychological conversation about spirituality and what is Star Wars like based off of, and philosophy and all this other stuff. But if we're just looking at it as the entertainment factor, hell yeah, bounty hunters. Like, please.
I think that, so we talked about the chicken guy. I cannot remember what you said his actual name is from
Esposito.
Breaking Bad. Yes.
Giancarlo. I'm gonna butcher everyone's names probably.
Whatever his name is, it just throws back to like Breaking Bad and like what a successful hit that was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it was so fucking real and like
Mm-hmm.
dirty and this, like it's real life. I mean, look at the world we live in, right? And that's what I just hope that we have a little bit of with this,
Yeah. And I thematically, I'm really excited about going back to that, spaghetti western. Like, I don't know. I'm still such a fanboy about certain things. Like, I remember watching like Yojimbo and the other Kurosawa movies when I was growing up, like black and white films and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's a level of grit and suspense.
So are you thinking this is going to be anti-hero?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's pretty much every Western, right? Like,
yeah.
when you get down to it, I mean, it's someone having to kill a bunch of people to get shit done. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you either push somebody into a certain circumstance, or they just showed up that way, based on some past issues.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. There's a lot of like tragic beauty to some of that stuff. And I think that because of the way that life unfurls for people, I think people can relate to that a lot more easily than the pure, the like. Yeah, at the end of the day, all of us, I think, we aspire to be Jedi, but we're not.
No.
But we're not Sith either.
Are you sure about that?
Well, I don't know. I try not to be. But I think that there is this middle ground, and I think that's why people understand the anti-hero. I think that's why people relate to, I'm doing something, might not be the most professional or the best thing possible to do,
but I got a good reason for it.
I got my reasons, yeah. And yeah.
Totally. Oh, I'm so excited.
Beyond excited.
Well, we've now talked for 45 minutes about how we love this so much.
Are you sure?
I'm positive because I'm looking at it right now. But I will say, I think we're going to have another little warm up right before this launches. And you told me earlier it's the 12th of November.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe we know a time yet, but we will let you know as soon as possible what that time is. We're going to give you another little quick prediction episode, a little bit more excitement, see how we feel. And then
maybe it goes like some theories of what's going to happen, who's who, and how things are going to
what their character's
together.
going to do. Yeah, where we
because there's a lot of
everything.
Easter eggs and stuff in the trailer. So
oh yeah,
you said it's been a while since you've seen it, so we should watch it and pick it apart a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally. Trailer breakdown.
Yeah,
we can do that for the next one.
Everyone will hear how wrong we are.
Yeah, right. We're like, oh, awkward. This is on here forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, honestly, I think everyone's really excited about it. I think like you said, this is definitely the flagship for Disney Plus. So really, I think everyone's excited not only for Star Wars, but also to see like how this platform and what they're going to bring to it. Like, honestly, like no one fucking wants another Peacock, like whatever NBC's streaming platform is. Like, okay, whatever. Take your streaming platform and go shove it up your ass. I want Netflix. I love the originals. Like, they're doing a lot of good. I'm concerned for that, because there's a lot of stuff going away from it. There's even some stuff on Hulu that I really, really like. But like Disney has a real opportunity to bring a lot of stuff that it's like is definitely like a niche that needs to be filled, in my opinion. And I'm excited for it.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is like, if I'm a gambling man, that's why I would put money on Netflix, because they're gonna dip. But I have absolutely every faith. I have every ounce of faith in them with all of their original series that they're doing, that they're gonna bounce back.
100%.
So, money in the bank. But, but yeah, no, I think Disney Plus is gonna revolutionize the entertainment industry, just because of the size of the number of shows that they're coming out with.
Yeah. Well, and I think it really is. And I think this, to Netflix's credit, is something that they've definitely, I mean, it's not like they coined having original series, because like every company has original stuff, but like really for streaming platforms, having something that's creative only on that, it's not made for traditional broadcast TV. It's not made for a movie. It's this own unique thing.
Binging.
I'm really excited for that. I mean, and we have Apple TV that's coming out, that they're doing a couple things like this. We have Disney launching the same time frame, like literally the same month. And then we have whatever Netflix is going to do reactionary to that. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I honestly think this is like never been a better time to be alive for entertainment. Like, it's pretty freaking awesome. I mean,
we're not having to worry about talkies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Then again, we did have the ending of Game of Thrones we had to live through, but
Yeah.
you know,
Let's not talk about that.
whatever. We moved on. Everything's fine. But with that, I think we're going to end the podcast. Thank you so much for listening to us. Once again, my name's Cory, and this is Matty B, and we are 100% loving The Mandalorian so far, even though it hasn't come out. Just the trailers and the sneak peeks and all of the cast. But as soon as it launches on November 12th, we will be doing a full breakdown podcast. That is as soon as we can afterwards and launching it the following day. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and you check out everything else that we're doing because there's a lot of great stuff out there. Perfectly Honest Podcast is made in Alaska, and we have a lot of great content for you guys. But with that, may the force be with you.
Adios, folks.